Hello, my name is Dr. Charlene Brown, and amid everything that is going on, where everything is uncertain and we're not sure what to do, this is my version of 10 things, 10-ish things we will call it. And this is cultivated from, these are things that have been swirling around in my head, and they're cultivated from three separate skill sets. One, I have moved a lot. And so a skill set I have is to be able to plot down in a place and get going. Two, I am strong in math, and math requires, when you're teaching and tutoring math, it requires you to break things down into manageable pieces and then just do the piece in front of you, starting with the thing that you know. And three, I am skilled in bringing kind of a physical element to social, emotional, and mental wellness. So those three skill sets are really based on my idea of cultivating 10 things, 10-ish things. There's a few more than 10 on my list, but 10 things on what we can do right here, right now to get through the time that we're in. Number one, if it is your first time working from home, I want you to set a schedule. Get up, take a shower, get dressed for the day as if you were going to work. Now, for many of you, this also includes your children, and set a schedule for them too. They need, especially if they're smaller children, they need a structure. Have a structure. Here's what we're doing at this time. Here's what we're doing at this time. Here's when we take a break. Here's when we eat. Here's when we go outside in our own family unit to maybe play or take a walk around the block. Set a schedule. Children need a schedule. Also, if you have teenagers who are a little more resistant to that, you can set the schedule in a broader way. You can say, here's what we need to get done collectively as a family. Here's what we need to get done today. Here are my pieces. These are your pieces. Teenagers need structure with a little bit more flexibility. So maybe it's, all right, you can choose when to get these things done, but these things need to get done. And that can include chores and schoolwork. And, schoolwork is homework now too. And as a parent, you're also suddenly homeschooling. So really just reach out for help as you need it. Your teachers, your children's teachers are probably a resource, a first line resource, and there's all sorts of help that's going around kind of in your circle. So check in with your circles, check in with your networks, but set a structure, get dressed, get ready for the day, and have a day like you need the day to go. Number two, if you are an educator and you are suddenly transitioning to teaching from home, remember that for online learning, the class time, the cultivated class time is really where the sense of community is nurtured and cultivated, and where that will flourish. So see if you can make sure to include points of compassion as you are transitioning to online. And again, I would also suggest that you set a schedule as well, and maybe it is a modified version of what you were doing in the classroom. Remember to take into account that some of your students may not have internet access all the time. So if you are used to teaching every day, you may need to do smaller bits of video at one time. You may need to work with those parents to see if there's a time and a place where they do have internet, and make sure you're meeting and addressing the needs of folks who may not have the internet like they would when they were in person at school or work or wherever it is. Also, to remember compassion, and remember that we're all still processing through the abrupt nature of this social isolation. And social isolation is sort of isolated into your family unit, whatever that may look like, family or household unit, whatever that may look like for you in your world and in your life. So remember compassion here, and remember that we're still processing this abrupt sort of sense of isolation and not being able to move about our lives freely. So please do remember that. Number three, as so much of our country shifts to working from home, remember to think about, and if there's a way you can account for, the people who are housing insecure and job insecure. This is going to hit them likely the hardest, as most large things do. They hit the people who are at the margins the worst, and in often the most unrecoverable ways. So if you know of people, or you see people in your daily life who are housing insecure or perhaps job insecure, the dollar or two or five that you may have given them, or the meal that you might have bought an extra of while you were out, they're not getting that now. So is there a way that you can come to a place to be able to support that in some way? I don't have answers for that. Please do feel free to include your ideas in the discussions around this. Also, the people who, number four, then the everyday people who make our necessities necessary, who make them workable, your grocery store workers, your drugstore workers, the people who prepare and deliver the food that you may order, often they make $12 an hour or less, and this is their livelihood. So keep that in mind. If they're able to be tipped, please tip them well, but remember to be kind. Remember that they are putting their health on the line for $12 an hour at part-time hours. So just be mindful of that as you go through your day, and we figure out what are steps for being in our own space for so much time. And do remember that they really are risking their health for $12 an hour or less. And again, their hours are probably part-time. Their employer, they may be independent contractors. Their employer may or may not have something in place should they need to be quarantined. So remember that this is their livelihood, and be kind and tip well. Number five, please, please, please pay attention to the media that you are consuming. Does it make you frantic and crazy, or does it cultivate your sense of resiliency and well-being, and we can get through this? And be mindful of that, and know that that's intentional. Know that the media is its own entity, and the media is on purpose. So remember that the media is on purpose, and be aware of the media that you're consuming and how it makes you feel. If it doesn't make you feel good, limit those things that don't make you feel good, and cultivate those things that do give you a sense of hopefulness or resiliency or well-being or the ability to get through something. Number six, in light of that, I also would really encourage you to prepare food for a respiratory or a lung issue. So that might mean things that boost your immunity. Garlic is notorious for being an immunity booster, but also something like a good broth, a good bone broth, a good deep, yummy broth soup, as well as something like a lemongrass soup. Think about that. So maybe you make a good soup at some point during this time, and you can eat some now, and you can also, soup is very freezable. So I encourage you to make something that has you prepared for a respiratory or lung something, just in case. And then you're not sicky McSick trying to make soup for you and your family, and you can just pull it out of the freezer. Soup freezes very, very well. So at the worst case, you would have really good soup at some later point, and at the best case, you can be prepared should this come into your household. Number seven, what are you focusing on? The things that you focus on grow. So back to some previous numbers, if things are making you crazy and you're continuing to focus on that, that's only going to give you more sense of crazy and sense of frenetic and frantic. I don't know how to be in control of this. So the thing that you're focusing on is going to grow. Can you focus on the things that you can have an impact on? How can you change? How can you serve? How can you help? What are you putting your energy and your focus on? Because that's really what's going to grow. So can you be intentional about where your focus is going in any given moment? Day might be too long of a time because you probably can't for many parts of the day, but there are some parts of the day that you can say, I'm focusing on this really specifically and really intentionally. In that same vein, number eight, use your words mindfully. The same way that we create our experiences by and large through the thoughts that we're thinking and the things that we're giving energy. Our words are a really powerful medium of energy. You saying something out loud absolutely increases its likelihood of occurring. So be intentional with your words. Be mindful with what you're saying, and that's hand in hand with what you're focusing on. And what are you saying? Are you saying, this is making me crazy? I'm using that as an example, even though I used it. Because if you ask, is this making me crazy, you know what you're going to get back? Crazy energy. So how is this helpful? How is this useful? How can you be intentional with the words that you're speaking about everything that's maybe new and unprecedented and uncomfortable right now. Number 8, I'm sorry, that was 8. The universe only knows the word yes in addition. So the universe will give you back more of what you put out. So number 9, your lungs equal grief and how you take in the world and life. So let's really think about that. What is it we're taking in, and or what might we have collective grief about that spawned a worldwide grieving, maybe a worldwide, oh, let me come into myself and have to deal for a little while. What might have spawned that? What are you grieving? Or maybe it's the earth that is grieving. Maybe needed some time to restore herself in ways that we humans are not particularly helpful in utilizing and in helping. So maybe that's it. Maybe we need to understand what we're grieving. And number 10, then, also related, what do you need to heal? What about you, your thoughts, your life? What needs healing from you? This is an amazing time to cultivate maybe some healing rituals. Maybe look at some things you've been avoiding because you've been avoiding them. This is a time. There's no time. Like, you're going to be with yourself for a little while, at least by all accounts at the moment. So maybe this is a time to begin healing. How can you begin that now? How can you look at what needs to be healed, what you're grieving? Maybe it's on a collective level. Maybe it is on an individual level. This is a really great time to cultivate some intentional practices around healing and grieving and allowing space for both. Can you allow space for your healing? Can you allow space for your grieving? Right now, we're in kind of a collective break from having to deal with people around us other than our own family or household unit, for sure. So take some time to think about that. Maybe you're journaling, maybe you're shouting in the shower. Maybe that's your time. Whatever it is, really do take some time to be intentional about that and maybe look into it. Maybe this is the first time you're looking into it, but maybe look into it. I told you there were more than 10. 11, cultivate your other skills. This is a really great time to explore other things, other avenues that maybe aren't so related to your work in the world. Are you a really good writer? There are a whole ton of students who are at home right now who could use the benefit of a good writer or editor to help them with their things. Or if, like me, you're good at math, how can you build that? Can you help? I'm certain parents need help with their children's math. If they didn't understand it themselves in school, now it's coming back to them, and it's changed. They've changed in many parts of the country. They've changed the way they teach math, so it's new math now. So I probably need math help. If that's something you can help, see if this is the time to cultivate that sense, and that, who knows, that might be you might become a tutor at some later point. During this or after this. But what are other skills your skills that you can cultivate? What's your forgotten passion? Did you do something as a young child that really is your side thing now? But is there a way that you can cultivate that today? If you really like coloring or being creative, why don't you play? Why don't you have, in your structured day from number 1, why don't you have maybe 15 minutes to just do that thing? Or to cultivate that thing. Or maybe at this point in our adult brain world, it's really looking up information online. The internet is loaded right now. So next, I am a huge proponent. I want you to breathe and center yourself and move your body, and remember to do those things and drink water. I'm water loving. I'm almost a fish. And I have not been drinking enough water, and I can feel it when I get to the later part of my day where I'm just like, and of course with the respiratory thing, you don't want to be the one who's having trouble breathing in any given space or situation. So really do remember to breathe and center yourself and move your body and drink water. Those things are key to really your everyday. They're key to my everyday. I don't know if they're key to your everyday, but I do know that they help. I do know that whatever you're doing during your day, moving and centering yourself on purpose, and drinking water and breathing and really taking time to breathe will all help, whatever it is. So that's that. And then finally, really get creative. This is an opportunity for you to maybe explore avenues that you have not had the time or the wherewithal to be able to explore before. Get creative. How can you do your day creatively? How can you set up your time creatively? How can you get creative with your partner or your children or everyone? How can you get creative with checking in with people? We have so many video tools now. It'd be a great time to see people's face, even if you can't be with them in person. And I was skeptical about video things until I used them. And I said, oh, this really is almost as good as being in person. You get to laugh with each other. You get to, if I'm making a silly face, you can exacerbate that because you can see it now. So don't underestimate the power of video tools to connect with people that maybe you haven't connected with in a long time. Because guess what? Just about everybody is at home right now. So this will be a great time to reconnect and cultivate what your sense of digital community looks like, perhaps. So these are my 10-ish things. I'm also doing a number of things. I've started doing kind of a daily check-in to just help us set our intentions for what we're doing. You can find more information that I'm doing. I'm on LinkedIn, Charlene M. Brown. I'm on Facebook, Dr. Charli Brown. Instagram, Dr. Charli Brown, as well as the website, drcharlibrown.com. I spell my name Charli with an I, and Brown like the color. I do look forward to connecting with you on this and other platforms, but really, let's be intentional about this time. Let's be on purpose about what we do and how we do it. Even if that takes a moment, a day, a few hours, whatever it is, to have to stop and figure it out. Can you make a plan for this that includes compassion, that includes checking in on people, that includes enough structure for whatever your needs are? Can you make that plan and then move forward with it? And flexibility and creativity. Make sure that there's fun in there. You have bonus time with your household, whether that is good or bad. Our goal is alive. We want parents and partners and children to all be alive, and for us to not go stir crazy. So how can we cultivate that on purpose and with intention and with compassion? Again, I am Dr. Charlene Brown, better known as Dr. Charli Brown, and it is my honor and pleasure to connect with you here. And until we meet again, I want you to take great care.